being that we were close to some of these other communities, if we're all vigilant, I think we could keep an eye on these things. It looks like as if some of these events that are happening are in the middle of the night. And we've had reports of people being in the town or leaving the town in the 1 to 3 a.m. time frame. So we've got a kind of a night stalker, I guess you could say. So we need to be vigilant. I know it's hard to be up at that time of the night, but looking for some suggestions.
Senior Investigator Tim Peets. I run the investigator shop down in Messina, cover Winthrop area. We also cover Norwood, Waddington, all the way around there. Help out a little, record some serial numbers, make, model, and serial numbers. I can tell you that I'm going to guess 85%, maybe 90% of the time we go to people's houses, they don't know that stuff. So they got a Husqvarna. Now they might not say it's just an orange chainsaw, but they might tell you it's a Steel or a Husqvarna, but there's a lot of them out there. And if we don't have the serial numbers, it's hard to prove it's yours. It's hard to put it in the computer. So if a guy in Watertown comes across it, he doesn't know if you don't have the serial number. So your rifles, I mean, there's nothing that I could say here tonight that would be more important than responsible gun ownership. The SAFE Act's great and all the other good ideas that are out there, but if you don't lock this stuff up and record the serial numbers of your shotguns and your rifles and put them away out of sight, so the guy's going like this in your front window when you're at work and he sees a beautiful gun case there with 25 shotguns in it, I mean, that's the house he's going in. Especially when he knows you're not home 5 days a week till 7 o'clock at night. These guys aren't stupid. They don't break in the first day they go there. I mean, like I said, it escalates. Starts off small, and they end up burglarizing houses before it's over. And that, a drug dealer or a drug addict or a burglar, they all start off small and got away with it, got away with it, got away with it. So I would say, the vandalism about the light and the sign, I would say that's something different. But the stuff coming off your porches, the stuff, out of your sheds, maybe out of your houses, that's just a little more, locked. I know I've lived here my whole life. I didn't lock the doors either till I was 40 years old, but I lock them now. And so do my parents lock them now. They didn't lock them for 65 years, so it's just a different world we live in, and that's what we got to do.
Timmy told Mark and I at the beginning he didn't have much to say. I'd hate to see him when he's got a whole mountain full of. I'd just like to thank Mark and our friends from law enforcement. I want to applaud Mark. I think that, and as Timmy said, they haven't had a lot of reports of this at Messina, and that's probably a good thing. That means that Mark wants to nip this in the bud early on. I know both of these gentlemen from law enforcement for many years, and I'm just sending a message to these criminals that it's not in their best interest to have these two guys after them. We've got a great community, as it shows for this turnout right here, and I just encourage all community members to report any unusual behavior that you see.
Thank you, Tom.
I just echo some of the things that the senior investigator stated too, is the serial numbers are very important. So if anybody has anything, even if you think it doesn't have a huge value, if you want us to assist, no matter which law enforcement agency is working at, and we all work together, is document what you have, take photos of what you have, write down your serial numbers, store it someplace safe, and so that when something does happen, it's there so that you can show somebody and you can present it out. Your own social media. Sometimes if you put it out there that something's missing, you'd be surprised how quick your own social media will help solve something too. Somebody will have seen something. But one of the biggest things that we've been trying to just echo for several years now, right from a national level right down to local, is if you see something, say something. You'd be surprised how much people pay attention to what goes on in each one of our neighborhoods, and they saw something, but unless somebody directly goes and asks them, they're not going to volunteer the information. You need to see. If you see something, you need to say something, because it's that important. It's important to all of us that we watch out for each other. Police make no bones about the fact that we can't be everywhere. We cannot be there. We need you as our eyes because of the simple fact that we can't help your neighbor if, you know, if you don't say anything, because we just can't be anywhere. So, you know, people, you know, we don't throw out our strength of numbers there, but there's really not that many of us around when you compare the 2,800 square miles of county that needs to be covered at any given time. This community has always amazed me on how supportive it is of each other, how they support each other's events, their sporting events. Somebody that has something tragic happen in their life, and how they all come together. So I know that this community can do all that. That being said, somewhere in the last year and a half, we've probably been up here for 170 to 180 individual type complaints that we actually make a record of. And out of those, not that many of them are larcenies, and not that many of them are criminal mischiefs at all. So that means that people, if they're having things happen, aren't reporting them. So, you know, feel free to report it. It may seem like, there's nothing they can do, but your reporting of something may tie back into something else. I had a gentleman today that we reached out to right here in the area, and we asked him, you know, hey, your mailbox got damaged last night. And he said, well, I wasn't going to report that. I didn't think anybody would ever find out who did it. Well, it ties back into a DWAI drugs arrest that we made this morning. Somebody that was huffing paint and, you know, was out there driving around the highways getting everything he could find. And, but, you know, he wasn't going to report it. We went and found him to, you know, to make that complaint. Mainly what we're up here for is, we end up in the area from mixed in here is everything from domestic incidents to harassment to checking on sex offenders that may live in the area right here. You know, there's between North Lawrence and, you know, the greater town of Stockholm, there's quite a few registered sex offenders in the area, and all of which you can find online, and if you haven't already, you can always find that information. It's always out there either on our website or the state's website. We're here, so if anybody's got anything that you'd like to ask the senior investigator, right? We're here to answer your question.
Who do people complain to?
As far as making calls?
How do they get the word out?
You just call one of the general numbers for either one of the law enforcement agencies, and you can get a dispatcher at that point, or a deputy or a trooper, and if there's, it sounds like there's enough there for a valid complaint, then they'll take your complaint and they'll send somebody out, or they'll make a record.
What is a valid complaint? We had, 2 weeks ago, they came through and all they did was our solar lights. They just ripped them all up and they just threw them and broke them. And they walk through, like at 2 o'clock in the morning, you hear 8, 10 kids, and they're young kids, 12, 13 years old.
And you wonder where the parents are.
That's
They don't know where the
definitely
kids
a
are.
valid complaint.
It is a valid complaint.
But we didn't turn it in because I don't think it was probably $20.
I can
worth
tell
of
you
stuff.
that one of the things that we're probably dealing with here tonight is that these people are working people, and they are logical thinkers. And like yourself, you're saying, I don't want to bother the troopers for $20 worth of lights, right? Those guys are busy. Well, I'm going to sit here and tell you, and the sheriff will tell you the same thing. If you work at Kinney Drugs, and I don't go there to shop because I know you're busy, Kinney Drugs is going to be empty. Well, our job is to take care of those kind of things for you. That's what we do. And if we're really busy, we just work that much harder, you know what I mean? Or the next shift comes in and keeps on going. So don't ever think that your problem is not important enough to call, because it is. And I'll echo the sheriff. About 15 years ago, somebody smashed about 70 mailboxes on 420. One of them belonged to my father. My father didn't bother the state police neither. He didn't get his mailbox paid for. The other 69 people did. You know what I mean? And I tell them, I said, that's because you think we're too busy, you know, and we're not too busy. I mean, we're busy, but we're not too busy. And the sheriff's department's the same way. You call, we show up. That's our job.
And if you-
Now, it might not be for an hour because there's a car accident or something, but we get there, and that's what we do.
And you might call the state police and have a deputy pulled in, or vice versa. And that happens all the time, because we work off the closest car concept. So the public gets the best service, and you get the car that's in the area that's not as busy as the one that's right next to them who's gone up to something else.
Right.
So that happens all the time. People say, well, I didn't call you, I called them. Well, no, you called dispatch.
Yeah.
This is, if you want your complaint handled, this is who you got. So, and that's the way that works out, because we try, you know, again, it's 2,800 square miles, we're jumping from one thing to the other, and somebody gets tied up, somebody picks up the slack and goes the other way.
And I think, obviously, knowing that making a complaint is gonna get the presence here that we want, you know, the community needs to understand, don't feel that, I mean, if we have a police presence out here, we're going to be able to stop this events that are happening, these actions that are, the vandalism of the American flags when the hometown Muskie Challenge was here. How, I mean, we had people from Fort Drum come up to the Brasher Falls area to do some fishing and to show our respect to them for them doing what they do for our country, and to have somebody go and break all those flags, how embarrassing. You know, those types of events, they need to stop. And if we, I heard enough of this, I wanted to get enough people involved to be able to make these decisions, knowing that you can make a phone call if it's something that you think is small. Well, if there's a police presence and we do some investigating, we'll probably get to the bottom of this. You know, maybe somebody gets caught, an example gets made, maybe the next young kid or maybe an individual that's, you know, apt to maybe doing some robbing because they're addicted, maybe we'll take, think twice.
And you may never see a press release on something that's done because the individual age isn't something that's going to get published. But, you know, they get directed back to the family court, or they get directed back through, you know, another avenue because of their age. And that may be it. And it may be just a matter of not an addiction as much as just lack of supervision. And parents not caring enough to know where the kids are, and those kids are, you know, and usually these things don't happen as individuals. Usually these criminal mischiefs happen because there's multiple ones, but it's no fun by yourself. So that's kind of how that they think about it, and that's how it happens. And the time goes through. So, believe it or not, we did these patrol things, you know, at one point in our life, and you know, it hasn't changed any, except for all the other things that come into it that may be the cause. So.
Now, you mentioned social media earlier on about something. If we linked up on that, last night, my neighbor saw some flashlights in an abandoned house near my house.
Okay.
She sent me a message, said, I see some flashlights. I got out of a spotlight, went outside. It was right across the street. I shined the light. It was a group of kids, and they moved all on because I put the light on. If we know some of our neighbors around the corner, you see, geez, there's something going on in that corner, you could send a message to them. They go out with a flashlight. Just shine some light on that. That might not be a bad thing if we could do that with some of us. Yeah. Keep an eye on each other's houses.
Does there seem to be a certain spot right here in
On
the
our
village?
street,
Our
that's our street,
Church
Church Street.
We're the LeBlancs, and we live a couple houses down from Kathy. A couple weeks ago, we had our Courier Observer holder out front knocked over the next morning. It's probably the same night. My wife Shelley heard some kids at
I
that
heard them
night.
out laughing outside.
Certain time frame,
It was
or a
after
certain day of the
midnight.
week?
It's
It's
late.
after
It's
midnight.
like 2, 3 o'clock in the
I
morning.
thought mine was after midnight sometime.
So
It was on Wednesday.
I didn't report it, obviously, like Kathy. We didn't think it was a big deal. I wasn't getting the paper anymore either, so I got rid of the box there. Now you can't take it off anymore and knock it over, you know. So I just moved it out of the way. But last night, an incident, had my wife all set to call somebody today because a Hillary sign was missing this morning out front. So, you know, that's pretty bad. So,
Did they put a Trump sign in it?
well, they,
No?
That wouldn't have lasted long either.
Then we know it's a crime.
I had John Moore stop in from Channel 7
Oh,
today, and
okay.
he says, well, at least they didn't replace it with a Trump sign. Anyway, so that was last night. So apparently that same gang of kids that Mike saw in my neighbor's house also, he's on the other side of a stream next to me, across from the whole residence and right next to my residence too. So apparently they're traveling around looking for things to get into.
They're by our house in the morning, about 2 o'clock. I hear him outside after he leaves.
What time, you said you signed showing your light on, what's the age range?
They look like they're teenagers. So, and again, this was earlier on, about 10 o'clock, so they weren't in the vandalism, I don't think, just some kids fooling around. But they And then the neighbor called the troopers, and they were there, and somebody moved them on. But about 8 or 10 of them, but they were pretty young.
Sure. Usually what we used to work in patrol days too, so they like being up here too, so they.
We used to see the trooper cars come up.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
why,
Yeah.
you know, I wanted to say this earlier, it's kind
You're
of
always gonna see the state
elementary.
highway and.
That's why they
and
stripe the cars, you know, that's like where
Right.
they aren't all riding around in unmarked cars. That's police preventive patrol. You know, you see the car drive by and say, yeah, you know, maybe we should just go somewhere else. And that's kind of what happens. And so hopefully if you see, you know, they see them around here from midnight, 1, 2 in the morning, you know, now they better get going, find something else to do. If you get chased out of the arena, I assume they're probably out in the back or around the side. Right in the front, doing whatever they're doing, and you get harassed by the
They got
troopers
lights, they
a
got
couple of
this, they got
times.
that, unless somebody moves them along, they're comfortable there.
Yeah.
Well, I wanna thank everybody for coming out tonight. I know the paper put some things out. News Channel 7 was here interviewing me earlier today, here also right now. We've got some social media, Tri-Town community that got the word out as well. Again, just being from Brasher, but I think the town of Lawrence and the town of Stockholm all being in close proximity, and we all want to stick together on this because, you know, we like our community. I mean, I think we all respect each other and enjoy living in this area. So I appreciate Kevin and Tim, Tony, and my board, and Bob McEwen for coming today. And if anybody else has got anything they'd like to ask, now's the time. If not,
About anything, that, you know, that we can answer the question for you, if anybody's got anything. Happy to.
great. I appreciate everybody coming. And,
Thanks for having the meeting.
we'll keep everybody informed on what's going on, and again, report, and we can stop this activity. Thank you, everybody.
It is.
We all appreciate what these two fellows have done.